Congress has spoken on the Epstein files. Hi, everyone. I'm Tram Mai. After months of debate and pushback, lawmakers passed a bill that orders the Department of Justice release all case files on convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. A bipartisan group of lawmakers pushed towards the vote on this bill. It easily cleared the House with overwhelming support. It received just one single vote against it. In the Senate, Minority Leader Chuck Schumer requested to pass the bill by unanimous consent. Not a single Republican senator objected, passing it through without any more debate or vote needed in Congress. Then it was sent to President Trump's desk for a signature. That's required for the bill to become law. Despite months of calling it a Democratic hoax, President Trump changed his position once it became clear a majority of Republicans supported it. Over the last week, he said multiple times he'd sign the bill once it reached his desk, even pushing members of his own party to support it. Julia Benbrook has more from the White House.
A White House official told our team that in recent days, there was an understanding that a vote on releasing the files was an inevitable reality. That likely played a role in President Donald Trump's sharp turn from branding the issue as a, quote, Democratic hoax to saying he will sign the bill into law.
Would you sign that bill if it gets to your desk?
I do want to say, here's what I want. We have nothing to do with Epstein. The Democrats do. All of his friends were Democrats. We've done a great job, and I hate to see that deflect from the great job we've done. So I'm all for it. I'm for any. I don't. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it.
Now the question is, when will Americans see what is in these files? That's essentially up to the DOJ, and ongoing investigations could complicate that process. Just last week, Trump directed the DOJ to investigate several high-profile Democrats for their ties to Epstein.
Even if they do these what seem to be partisan investigations, that's another thing that bothers me about the announcement the president made is he named Democrats and things that he was going to investigate. These survivors are not partisan. They don't belong to one party, and the perpetrators aren't either. And so this shouldn't be about political divide. So I hope that was sort of a bluff, and I hope that the DOJ will release all the files.
The legislation gives the Justice Department 30 days after it's enacted to comply and make public the files related to Epstein's case. At the White House, I'm Julia Benbrook.
For survivors of Epstein's abuse, this bill passing through Congress was a huge moment. They had pushed for years for accountability. They cheered and hugged each other as they learned that the Senate had passed the bill. It happened while they held a vigil in D.C.
The power of people coming together and the power of women coming together. I want to also express my gratitude to all the people standing here behind us. We have not been heard for so long, and I think the power of being heard and being recognized and being validated is incredibly healing.
Survivors have been pushing for transparency. They relied on Capitol Hill several times, urging for Congress to vote yes to release the files.
I want everybody to take a look. I know everybody sees us today as grown adults, but we are fighting for the children that were abandoned and left behind in the reckoning.
Everybody keeps talking about a list, and it's not a list, it's actually files. And what I'm hoping that they're going to see is accountability is going to be taking place, and also what happened behind everything and how this works so that we can prevent this from happening to other girls and young boys. Again, this is an operation. This is more than just a list.
Epstein killed himself in a Manhattan jail while awaiting trial in 2019 on charges that said he sexually abused and trafficked dozens of underage girls. The bill forces the DOJ to release all files and communications related to Epstein within 30 days. It also must release any information about the investigation into his death in federal prison. Under the bill, redactions are allowed about the victims or ongoing investigations, but information cannot be redacted due to, quote, embarrassment, reputational harm, harm or political sensitivity. Attorney General Pam Bondi says the DOJ will comply with the law. Even before this bill passed, thousands of pages of emails and other documents from Epstein's estate were released. Those documents show Epstein's connections to global leaders, Wall Street power brokers, influential political figures, and even Trump himself. It included claims that President Trump had spent hours at Epstein's house with a sex trafficking victim and that he knew about the girls. The president had said he cut ties with Epstein years ago. Now at stake are thousands of documents, emails, and travel logs tied to Epstein's trafficking network. Many of them have never been seen before. Survivors and lawmakers say the files could reveal who enabled him, what investigators missed, and whether others could be held accountable. Chesley McNeil spoke with a defense attorney about what we can expect next.
With trafficking cases carrying no statute of limitations, the question now is whether this release could lead to new criminal exposure for anyone in Epstein's orbit. Defense attorney Darryl Cohen, we call him Uncle Darryl, back here with us to break down the vote on these files and what it could mean going forward. When we look at the scope of these files, right, we talk about the names, the timeline, the financials, emails. What's the biggest risk for anyone connected to Epstein's network?
Exposure in capital letters and italics. He or she, mostly he, do not want to be associated with Epstein any more than they've already speculated that they may be. It's exposure.
Wow. So, this case spans decades. Legally, how do prosecutors deal with the aging evidence, old testimonies, or long timelines?
Well, let's face it, most of the people who should be indicted should be prosecuted. It's happened. And it may be not just most, it may be all. But what we're looking at are high-powered people, very visible people, who do not want to be associated with Epstein or anything about him. I mean, we've got the president who knows him. We've got other high-profile people who knows him. We've got Epstein, who took a very, what we would say, a cheap, inexpensive plea in Florida in early 2000s. We've got the Epstein who was arrested and prosecuted for other criminal activity. We've got the Epstein who committed suicide. And we've got nothing good about Epstein other than he's dead. But his death has led to a trail of who was involved, how were they involved, why were they involved. Yesterday, we saw Larry Summers resign. It's not going to get any better unless and until they release all of the documents. And then our conspiracy theorists may or may not be right. They'll have something to talk about rather than just mere speculation.
Yeah. You talked about exposure. Talk to me about the legal risk for anyone named in these files once they become public.
Well, if they're named and if they're just said he was there, he didn't do anything, then the risk is just, and I use the word just in italics, just the fact that he will lose his credibility. He would likely lose whatever elected position he's in or wants to be in. It's something that it's a stink that doesn't go away. It stays and it continues to fester. And so the longer it goes without any real evidence, one way or the other, just speculation, the worse it is. Let's get Congress, let it go. The president finally changed his mind and said, let it be. Yeah. Let's get it out there. So if we get it out there, we'll have a lot of people saying, I told you so, and others going, I don't know. I wish I knew what was in there.
You mentioned the president. You mentioned the president, right? He was once against it. Now he's saying, let's go, let's get it done. If his name is mentioned in there, what kind of legal exposure, if any, could it create for him?
There's two words there. It depends. And I think the president decided to have it released in that the mere speculation, the more you hide something, the more people want to know why. And so get it out there, put it on the public's eye, let them see whatever it is that he did with Epstein, for Epstein, to Epstein, or the girls that were involved. And those are the people that really are the tragedy. Those are the victims, not anybody else.
I was going to ask you about the limitations, right? There are no limitations to this. What makes this kind of a crime that, right, opposed to some other crime that has limitations?
Well, almost every crime you have has a statute of limitations. Murder normally does not. Armed robbery, burglary, simple battery hitting someone. All of those things have a statute of limitations so that legally the people cannot be prosecuted. It doesn't stop people from talking. It doesn't stop social media, but it stops a prosecution, whether it's state or federal. Here, there is no statute of limitations. So theoretically, if some crime has been committed and there's adequate evidence to prosecute it, the U.S. Attorney's Office in one jurisdiction, wherever it is, will end up prosecuting it. That will happen. Mm-hmm. I don't see anything on a local level because the prosecutors, I don't think, want to get involved in this, or they shouldn't, in my view, because it's a lose-win situation or a win-lose situation. No, you've got half the people that will say, I told you so, and he should be, or they should be prosecuted. The other saying, leave them alone. Mm-hmm. So in that case, let it be or prosecute it. If there's serious evidence against one or more people, they should be prosecuted. If it's just mere speculation, then social media continues its merry way, and there are going to be 9,000 different views of what should or shouldn't happen.
Yeah. All right. Defense Attorney Darrell Cohen, or Uncle Darrell, as we like to call you. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much for the insight. Really.
The Department of Justice assigned top federal prosecutors to investigate Epstein's ties to high-profile Democrats mentioned in those emails. This investigation came at the request of President Trump. Pam Bondi announced the investigation last week, just hours after the president publicly called on her to do so. He posted this on his Truth Social platform, noting several names that he wants the DOJ to look into. They include some of his perceived political opponents, such as former President Bill Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and billionaire tech investor Reid Hoffman. Trump also mentioned J.P. Morgan Chase. Summers was also previously president of Harvard University. The university is reopening an investigation into his relationship with Epstein. According to the school newspaper, The Crimson, the probe will also look into Epstein ties to other people linked to the school, including a dozen other current and former Harvard affiliates mentioned in the emails released. Summers teaches at the university and addressed the emails in class.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activity for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class.
His office said he's resigning from the board of OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT. The emails recently released show Summers kept a friendly relationship with Epstein long after he pleaded guilty to soliciting prostitution from an underage girl. In the UK, King Charles III stripped his brother, Prince Andrew, of his remaining titles and evicted him from his royal residence. It came after pressure to act over his relationship with Epstein. Andrew has denied sexual abuse allegations by one of Epstein's victims, Virginia Roberts Giuffre. She was pivotal to the federal criminal charges brought against Epstein. Giuffre died by suicide earlier this year. Her posthumous memoir was published in October. We've got more coverage coming up after the break, including a look at how we got here and the rift it's created between the president and one of his biggest supporters in Congress. Let's look back now at how we got to this vote in Congress to release the Epstein files. It was a months-long debate. The vote to release the Epstein files started back in July. Representatives Ro Khanna, a Democrat, and Republican Thomas Massie introduced a petition to force a vote on their bill, the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Discharge petitions require 218 signatures. It's a hard thing to do and requires bipartisan support. Representative Grijalva was the 218th signature, the last one that was needed to reach a majority. She was able to sign the petition after finally being sworn into office last week, more than 7 weeks after she won a special election in Arizona. She and other Democrats say that delay was intended to prevent her signature on the petition.
Speaker Johnson purposefully obstructed my swearing in by canceling vote after vote. And the Epstein files discharge petition sat one signature short. With my signing, we move one step closer to the truth that they will try to deny, but that survivors deserve their day of justice, and the American people demand it.
Speaker Johnson pushed back on claims that he obstructed the Epstein files vote. After swearing in Grijalva, he expedited the process to bring the bill to the House floor for a vote. Colorado Republican Lauren Boebert was one of the 4 Republicans that signed off on that petition. She opted to keep her name on it, even after being called into the White House Situation Room. The White House confirmed she was there, but insists the meeting was in the name of transparency, rather than a last-minute push to pressure her to remove her signature. Boebert also told CNN the White House wasn't pushing her. Greene has been a fixture of the MAGA wing of the Republican Party. Her role in getting the bill passed may have cost her the support of President Trump. On Truth Social, Trump announced he was withdrawing his endorsement of her. He also called her a, quote, traitor. She responded at a press conference with Epstein abuse survivors.
I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge petition. Let me tell you what a traitor is. A traitor is an American that serves foreign countries and themselves. A patriot is an American that serves the United States of America and Americans like the women standing behind me.
Taylor Greene is up for re-election next year. The president wants a Republican to run against her in the spring primary. Doug Richards spoke with voters on Greene's home turf about the feud.
As a place that has supported Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump in elections, Rome and Floyd County now find themselves uncomfortably in the middle of their unlikely feud.
I stand with these women.
We love Congresswoman Greene. She does a lot for us.
I live close to my dad. Deborah Sherman says she doesn't want to have to choose between her Republican Congresswoman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Republican President Donald Trump.
She tries to do right by all of us, and she stands beside us.
A new billboard flashed just north of downtown Rome, backing Greene's call to release the Epstein files, a call which had infuriated Trump.
That's what I appreciate about Ms. Greene is she is a strong representative of this. You know, sometimes she may be a little outspoken, but at least she makes our district feel heard.
Trump has threatened to support another Republican, seeking to oust Greene from her congressional seat. This troubles Greene and Trump supporter Scott Ford.
And it's not the time to get into inter-party strife. It's not the time to yell and scream at each other if they want to keep control of the House and the Senate.
I look forward to when they make up.
Walker County Republican Party Chair Jackie Harling says she worked hard to elect Greene and Trump. She predicts the feud will be short-lived.
Hurtful things are being said, but I think that they're going to make up because fundamentally we agree on the most important things.
If any Republicans decide to take on Congresswoman Greene in a Republican primary next year, they will have until next March to sign up. In Rome, Doug Richards, 11 Alive News.
We'll continue to follow developments on the Epstein files and bring you the very latest. For now, I'm Tram Mai. Thanks for watching.